Welcome to the Big Meat Kickoff. I am your host, Kevin Noon. It is April 21st. Been a hot minute since I have seen y'all. Now, of course, you have seen me on Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning. You've seen me on Buckeye Weekly. It's just been a minute since I have done my own show. And obviously, we are not going live today. Look for a live show coming later this week. I promise you, one is coming up, but we are to NFL Draft Week. And those of you who've watched the show through the years know that I love the NFL Draft. It is one of my favorite things out there. Got a little bit of frog in my throat. I apologize in advance. I am trying to not cough on everybody. The draft is really the culmination of the journey. We start talking to the kids when they're in high school. Some of them go to Ohio State. Some of them go on to play. Some of them go on to start. Some of them go on to be stars. And then some of them go on to the NFL. So this is the end of the journey. I talk to hundreds of kids every year based on this process. And the number is getting smaller each year as I am not on the road as much. That is more Mark than myself, but I still do talk to a lot of kids. Oh, by the way, Southern Swing is coming up, so be ready for that. That's generally where I talk to the vast majority, but then again at Ohio State camps as well. So we are now down to 15, 16 Buckeyes that could be drafted. Now, the argument could be made, well, why isn't this guy being mentioned or that guy being mentioned? Well, I'm not seeing them in mock drafts. That doesn't mean that they can't go the undrafted free agent route. Doesn't mean they can't make a team. Absolutely can. But we're going to talk about the guys in the mock drafts here because that's where I'm at right now. How much of the NFL draft are you going to watch? It's over 3 nights or 2 nights in a day. Round 1 is one day, 2 and 3 is the next, and 4, 5, 6, 7 is the final day. The first night, it's 100% focused on the kids, not a lot of screwing around, backslapping, all that. Day 2 is still pretty much on focus, on point. And then day 3, we get the adoptable puppies. We get the fans screaming their picks in. It's not the best television, in my opinion. So, I am going to watch as much of it as possible. I mowed the lawn this past weekend. On Easter Sunday, I mowed the lawn so I can watch the draft. I'm going to have to mow the lawn one more time before Southern Swing. Southern Swing, as you know, maybe you don't. Maybe you're new. Couple weeks, generally. It started off as a week. And basically the way Southern Swing, and I don't mean to be getting away from the point, deep teasing. Yes, we'll be talking about the draft eventually. But, Southern Swing, Mark and I get on the road. It started because we were not getting enough Ohio State information on a lot of these kids. So we could do one of two things. We could complain, which fell on deaf ears, or we could go on our own. We could just go on our own, go get the kids, ask 20 questions about Ohio State, ask no questions about Alabama if we wanted to do that. It was on our own dime. It was coming out of our own budget. So why not? So that is coming up. Look forward to it. Coming up here at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Not a member yet? Sign up for Buckeye Huddle. You're going to want to sign up for Buckeye Huddle. I'm just telling you right now. On the fence, don't be. Get off the fence. Go to BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up. A lot of great content every day, every week, every month, every year. But really coming up here, first of the month. That's about as much as I'm going to say about when Southern Swing is going to be. You'll find out when I kind of find out. I need to find out that I don't know the dates. And I'm going on the trip. I've got to know the dates so I can make sure somebody's here to watch my obnoxious cat. But keep it locked in here. All right, to the draft. And I'm noticing that the lighting in this room is really bad. I need to start doing this back up in my office. I will. Maybe. Probably. The draft starts, on the 26th? something like that. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I believe. And it's all about, getting drafted as highly as possible. More money. If you're a first round pick, you get there's a team option for a 5th year. By the way, Garrett Wilson just had his 5th year picked up by the Jets. No surprise to anyone on there. There is so much wild variation on where everybody thinks each of these players is going. I looked at 3 7-round drafts. I looked at 4 and then realized that 2 of them were identical. So I don't know how the hell that happened. So I took that one off my list. I am seeing players that have 135 spots, 134 if we're really counting, between where one person has them going and where somebody else has them going. Very little consensus in terms of where everybody has people going. There are a couple guys that, 2 of the 3 experts have them going in that spot. So, let's start at the top. Ohio State running back. Obviously, they're all Ohio State players. TreVeyon Henderson. I see him going 20th to Denver, 44th to Dallas, and 58th to Houston. So just a 38-pick swing right there. Anywhere from the first round to the very end of the second round. I don't know if I would have had TreVeyon Henderson as my first Buckeye off the board. One of the drafts does, the other 2 do not. Now, that's interesting because, all right, Ashton Jeanty is pretty much a consensus number 1 running back off the board. We're not that far removed from running backs being so undervalued in the draft that nobody wanted to take them in the first round. And, we have the potential of 3 going in the first round. If you have Ashton Jeanty, if you have Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, and TreVeyon Henderson. Now, I'm not completely sold that Omarion Hampton is the second best draft back. I really am not. And he is really talented. Don't get me wrong. Trey ain't, half a tuna salad sandwich himself. He's really good. And, he's a 3-down back, pass catcher. He can do so many things. Keep an eye on that one. I don't know if I see him going 20 to Denver, but I could see him going before 44 and certainly before 58. But this is a back. This is a draft you're going to have to really try to screw up if you're drafting a running back. It is such a deep draft at running back. Obviously, Ohio State has a second back. We'll talk about him here in a second. There are so many good backs in this draft. I think the only way that you screw it up is if you sit there and you take it to the 6th and then realize they're all gone. And you're coveting a running back. So do we get a situation of where a run on back starts and we see a bunch of backs come off in a span of like 8 picks? Or does everybody after Jeanty play a game of chicken with each other and say, well, I'm not going to take one if you're not going to take one, and wait to see when the dam breaks? I'm not sure. All right, let's mark him off the list because if I don't, then I won't know who I've talked about. All right, Quinshan Judkins. It's a tighter grouping here. Not as much love for Quinshan as I thought there'd be. 68th to Vegas, 73rd to Vegas, and 58th to Houston. So that 58 Houston, we just talked about that with TreVeyon. So apparently Houston needs a back according to these guys, and it does. Texans need a back. But, anywhere from 58 to 73, a range of 15. 2 of these experts have Vegas taking them. Remember, Chip Kelly's there as OC. So he certainly knows what's going on there. Now, Chip Kelly only had the 1 year with him. TreVeyon was in Columbus 1 year. Chip Kelly was in Columbus 1 year. Impactful, though. So I would not be surprised to see this. I've seen other experts in shorter drafts. I only wanted to use 7-round drafts so I could get all the way there and make sure we're talking about all the same guys. And I'm not going, well, sorry about that. Everybody else was taken in the 4th or beyond. I don't have any information to give you at that point. So that's where the backs are going, allegedly. Sounds like we're going to see both of them done before we get to the last day of the draft. I think that's right. But, I think that Trevion's probably an early 2. I think Quinshan early 3, late 2. I certainly like him enough to take him in as a late 2, but I don't have a roster to look at and say, okay, I got to fit all this in, and I need 2 offensive linemen, and I need a defensive tackle, and I need all this. I mean, there's a lot to be said about best player on the board. So that's what we got there. Let's jump to receiver and Emeka Egbuka. He is somebody I think a lot of people thought would be the first guy off the board. And this, the draft experts have him going number 12 overall to Dallas, which is kind of high. Ted McMillan was supposed to be going there. Maybe he had McMillan going sooner. 19th to Green Bay and 22nd to the Chargers, to that Harbaugh dude, to the weirdo, to the cheater. So we're looking at a range of 10. So this is all a tight grouping. Everybody's got him in the first. I think that's safe. If I were a betting man, which I am, I'm not betting on the draft. I think it's a safe bet to say Egbuka goes to the first round. He is he the number 2 receiver? Is he the number 3 receiver? I mean, is Ted McMillan really that far ahead of everybody? I think Egbuka didn't do anything to hurt himself in the process. If anything, I think he helped himself significantly. One of the NFL guys had him as one of the guys who helped themselves the most with the interview process. Egbuka, very, very cerebral dude. Very impressive dude. Somebody who was one of the leaders of the Buckeyes professing their faith, everything else. I mean, obviously we know that Trevion Henderson was the leader, but Egbuka was right there. He is going to be a guy that I'm not going to be worried about getting into trouble, doing any of that kind of stuff. Now, I mean, still a 21, 22-year-old kid who's going to be coming into a significant amount of money, but he got himself some money in NIL too. So it's not like it's going to be like, the first time he's going to see $100 bill. So I'm expecting big things out of him. So I think those picks are right. Let's see. Let's go to offensive line. Let's go to offensive line and Josh Simmons. Now, he's somebody who I've seen a lot of movement there. He got hurt in the Oregon game, missed the rest of the season, really didn't spend a lot of time. He would spend a lot of time rehabbing and trying to get himself right. He was there for the Rose Bowl. He may have been there for the championship game. I'm pretty sure he was. I don't remember. It was such a blur. And I had pneumonia at the time to make matters worse. So I don't remember all of that. A lot of the championship run is just a blur in my mind right now. But yeah, I'm finding him on my sheet. 25th to Houston on 2 of these. So one of the few guys that has parity. And then 34th to the Giants. So 2 of them have him in the first round. One has him in the second round. Houston certainly needs offensive line to help C.J. Stroud. The Giants, well, they need everything. So 9 pick range, I think that's fair. I think a lot of these guys who are kind of consensus first round, top of the second round guys, you're not going to see a huge amount of movement. So we will just agree with that one. Let's jump down to Seth McLachlin. Talking of Buckeyes who got injured. He got hurt leading into the Indiana game. And he was around. He's been around. He won't leave Columbus. Everybody else, I mean, maybe none of the Ohio State guys really. I mean, maybe Josh Simmons, but really left Columbus. He really, I mean, for a 1-year guy, quote unquote, the 1-year rental, he really seems to like it here. Wide range, wide range on him. One has him going number 86 overall to the Chargers, to the cheater. 114 to Carolina and 220 to New England. How healthy is he? How is that Achilles? Is he going to be somebody, you know, are OTAs in the question? Is he going to have to make it all the way to minicamp? If he gets drafted higher, that bodes better for him, not only from a financial standpoint, but how likely are you going to be to cut a third rounder right off the bat? You know, obviously it's about his health. He won the Remington Award for the nation's top center. So somebody obviously knows what they're talking about with him, that he can play. Now, how does it translate to the league? I think it translates well, but he's got to be healthy. How is that Achilles going to stand up? There are a lot of what ifs. Obviously, the first guy does not, at 220, doesn't believe that teams are buying his medicals or anything else. The other two guys have him no lower than 115. They seem to be buying. So I think 86 might be a little early for an offensive center. I like that 114 range. I think that's probably still a little high. I would say 130s to 150s, maybe. 220 is way too low. Way too low. Now, I've not seen the medicals. None of us are going to see the medicals, so I don't know. I don't necessarily know what they're seeing, but there seems to be a wide range. And again, these guys don't completely operate in a vacuum. They do talk to people, but again, we do live in this world of misinformation and the silly season and everything else. And oh, this guy's a bum, and then they turn around and draft him with their first pick. So that's what makes this all so much fun. It makes it so much fun because you never know what the right information is. And there's such a domino effect. There's such a domino effect that, oh, you took the guy we wanted. Now we're going to completely scrap it. You don't move down from one corner to the next corner unless you absolutely have to have a corner. You just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we think we know what the top of the draft is going to look like in the first couple of picks. But do we? Will we see a trade? Could trades completely change all this up? You don't know. You don't know. We're gonna hit D-line because there's several to talk. Or we're gonna start with Tyleik Williams, talented defensive tackle for the Buckeyes. About a 20 pick range here: 36 to Jacksonville, 40 to Minnesota, 56 to Buffalo. 56 feels way too low. 36, maybe 40, probably feels right. So you got to like that. I think you intercut that with JT Tuimoloau, somebody else that is going to be kind of right there. He has got a 17 range pick, 39 to Chicago, 56 to Buffalo. There's that Buffalo pick again. Buffalo must need a defensive lineman, even though Tyleik and JT are two different positions, and 54 to Green Bay. And we'll get back to Donovan Jackson. I didn't mean to miss him. Well, after we finish D-line, we'll get back to Donovan. My apologies. I think those numbers feel about right. I mean, there's always been this conversation that one of these guys could sneak into the first round, and you never know. You never know, but I don't think it's going to happen. They're both poised a little bit better than their fellow line mates who have their picks lower. I mean, there is one that's kind of in the ballpark, but I think those are both fair. I mean, I think that Tyleik Williams, his biggest thing is being able to stay healthy and how much can you keep him on the field. And he's not a 3-down player all the time. I mean, I think that there's situational things that for him, I mean, he's great against the run and everything else. I think that, I think you look there, JT is an edge rusher. I think that he, people want to sit there and say that he and Jack are the same guy. They're not exactly. I mean, you could be the same height and weight, and they're not, and not be the same type of player, have the same type of body. There are a lot of differences in there. I mean, both of them played out of their minds in the playoffs. Jack Sawyer, obviously the scoop and score. Sawyer put up some numbers, and then when you sit there and you look at it, I did a piece on this a couple months ago. JT had bigger numbers. Jack maybe had a couple of plays that were more impactful in the moment, but I mean, like, JT was a monster against Tennessee. JT was a monster against Oregon. Let's not forget these types of things. So I think Tyreek around 40 sounds about right. I think JT, he's hurt by a pretty good edge class. I think late 40s, early 50s sounds about right there. Now, as I said, we're going to get back to Donovan in a second. We're going to finish with the D-line. Jack Sawyer, range of 102 picks here. 167 to Tennessee, 65 to the Giants, 69, nice, to New England. That's something right there. That's something right there. And then Ty Hamilton, another interior lineman, 156 to Pittsburgh, not drafted according to another expert, and then 203 to Baltimore. Everybody slept on Devon Hamilton, Ty's big brother. Devon's laughing all the way to the bank. He's getting drafted. I think he's like 180s, 190s. I think Jack is like in the 70s. I think the 70s about right, maybe the 80s. We'll go back and we'll check this out. I'm going to have to run this through a transcription program. I'm not writing down my picks. I should. If I were intelligent, I would. If I were the producer I claim to be, which I am, I would go through and I'd be writing this stuff down. You gotta do the work, but I don't have a pen anywhere. So I think Ty gets drafted 180s, 190s. I think Jack is like in the 70s. All four linemen are getting picked. All right, I can't believe that I missed Donovan Jackson. And he's another guy we have a consensus on. 48 Miami, 43 San Francisco. We're not that far removed from Donovan Jackson being mentioned as a first-round pick. Now suddenly he is kind of in the bottom middle of the second round. Is he guard? Is he a tackle? How do teams see him? Obviously, that versatility is going to help. If he could play four positions on the line and you have a 53-man roster, active roster for football, NFL, why not take him? But, is he big enough to be an NFL tackle? Maybe not tall enough. He's stand by him and he's going to eclipse the sun. He's a big guy. I think that this is potentially one of the bigger steals in the draft based on these positions. And sure, I could sit there and say, oh, Jack Sawyer at 167, that's a steal. Somebody's going to get him so much earlier and everything else. But let's be honest. Donovan Jackson in the late 40s, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. I mean, there are some dudes on the offensive line. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's having to go, be compared with Josh Simmons, who is a true tackle. Donovan is a guard who slid out to tackle, and after having to find his way, played really well. Give me Donovan Jackson at 45. I don't even know who's 45, but I'm just picking things based off of numbers. We haven't even factored trades in and everything else, so a lot of stuff can happen. But give me him there. Let's jump to a favorite name for Ohio State fans. A one-year name. Quarterback, Will Howard. 175 Seattle, 137 Seattle, or 123 Pittsburgh. So apparently Seattle may covet him. Pittsburgh is a team that I've heard him mentioned, attached to numerous times. Now everybody's out there making moves, trying to secure their quarterback position. We know that how important quarterback is. Let's start with 123 in Pittsburgh. That one makes a lot of sense. That's something I've seen elsewhere. I've seen that elsewhere. Now, I know a lot of my viewers are Browns fans. I know a lot of my viewers are Bengals fans. They do not like the Steelers at all. And I hear it all the time. Please don't make me have to stop rooting for this player because they're playing for Pittsburgh, or, don't make me hate so-and-so because they're playing for Pittsburgh. I don't think that Will Howard is going to get much hate from Ohio State fans, regardless of their fandom, period. Now, I think they'd rather see him end up in Seattle. Sorry, Will, give up a couple of dollars and go to Seattle where we don't have to deal with you. Throw it to JSN. I think 137 is very interesting. I think 175, I think he could be there at 175. Will Howard is a guy, he wins. He wins. Does he have the biggest arm? No. But he's accurate as heck. 75% in the playoffs. Was, up there during the regular season. Plays big in big games. Okay, in the Michigan game, or I said it, in the Michigan game, I'm convinced he got concussed. I'm convinced. You cannot tell me otherwise. Ohio State's head medical staff members could come here and say, Kevin, he was not concussed. I'll be like, I don't believe you. He was not right in that game. He got hit hard in the head, and he was not right. Now, with all the new concussion protocols and having the concussion monitor and everything else, how does that happen? I don't know. I guess if you're that big of a gamer, you can outgame the system. And then the Oregon game, the lost Oregon, he played well. The two turnovers, one turnover was a fumble. The other turnover was an onside. Maybe it wasn't an onside kick. Howard played well. Yes, he should have slid a second earlier, but don't put it down to that one play. Don't put it down to that one play. So I think that Howard around 137. I'm gonna say that. I mean, would I be shocked if he went in 123 to Pittsburgh? No, I wouldn't be shocked at all. If everybody keeps trying to put him to Seattle, could Seattle move up to try and get ahead of Pittsburgh? That's what makes this so much fun. That's what makes it so much fun. All right, let's jump to linebacker. Cody Simon, another player with some pretty wide ranges. 134 to Philadelphia, 153 to Cincinnati, 222 to Las Vegas. Cody Simon is somebody who I think we were all robbed not getting to see 2 years of Cody Simon as a starter at Ohio State. Not taking anything away from Steel Chambers. I'm not taking anything away from Tommy Eichenberg. Cody Simon was a tremendous linebacker. Does he translate well to the NFL? That's the question. Everybody's got to be able to run. He certainly can hit. Ask Nico. He certainly can hit. Can he run enough? I'm gonna say like 170. I'm gonna say around 170 or so for Cody Simon. I think that he I think teams are going to be a little hesitant to pull the trigger there. I think somebody's going to pull the trigger, but I don't think it's going to be as early as 134 or 153, but it's certainly not going to be 222. No. Then we get to the secondary. And we got some interesting ranges here. Let's start with Lathan Ransom, the safety. 90 to Philadelphia, 120 to Tennessee, 133 to Pitt. So 43 pick range. I'm comfortable with all that. I think 90 feels a little early. I think 133, I want to say it feels late, but it kind of feels right. Again, nobody wants to see him in Pittsburgh. Well, maybe a couple people do, but nobody wants to see him in Pittsburgh. So I'm going to say late 120s. I'm going to say late 120s on Lathan Ransom. Denzel Burke. We got a good range here too. We got 100 to San Francisco, 119 to Cincinnati, 174 to Dallas. Burke is somebody that has had a wide range, a lot of differing opinions on him during the whole process. Let's not forget, he had like a 2-game stretch. And unfortunately, one of those games was at Oregon, of where he was discombobulated. And what do I mean by that? He just wasn't playing Denzel Burke style football. He was getting picked on. Sometimes when you're not right, the ball finds you. Well, the ball found him. The ball found the receivers he was trying to cover. And there were some pretty great catches made against him that it's like, well, what you going to do? But with that being said, you're still responsible for the guy you're covering. So if teams don't look at those two games, it looks a lot better. But, that's not how it works. So, 100, 119, it's not going to be 174. I'm going to say like 140. I'm going to say around 140 for Denzel Burke. And then Jordan Hancock, who's somebody that has been highly divisive in terms of what people are seeing. And he is the last player we're going to talk about. 111 to Carolina, which is the outlier, 228 to Detroit, and 239 to Dallas. So two of these guys have him barely being drafted. And one guy has him going 128 picks better than the low water mark. I really like Jordan Hancock. I think he can play. He's not going 111th. I'm not going to make a bet against myself. What do I win if I'm right? Nothing. If I lose, what I'm going to have to do? Eat a jar of pickles? Do something stupid on the air? No. So, I think that he's going to be somebody in like the 180s, 190s. I think it's going to be somebody is going to feel like they're taking a runner on him, but I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. The people who don't think that he should be drafted or think he should be drafted really low. But I think that there's just enough competition out there that that's just kind of where the numbers go. So there you go. Those are my picks. I'm going to have to, as I said, I'm going to have to go through and run this through a transcription program to get my picks again because I did not write them down. Today is Monday, April 21st. As I said, let's come back on Wednesday. Let's go live and we will do a listener questions type of show in advance of the draft. So we will not be going through results or anything like that. You tell me what we're doing. I will prepare very little and we'll have a fun time. So until then, everybody have a great day. Stay safe out there and I'll talk to you all very soon.